everyone, and welcome back to the Assistant Room podcast. At whatever stage you are at in your career within the support industry, whether you are just starting out and are still finding your feet, or if you're more experienced and are juggling board meetings with demanding execs and a to-do list as long as your arm, I hope you are all well and having a great week. If we haven't met before, or if you're only just joining us, I'm Jess, founder of online PA lifestyle platform, The Assistant Room. Throughout this podcast, we will be digging deep into the lives and experiences of some of the top personal and executive assistants in the UK and beyond. And for episode 6, I sat down with the amazing Natalie Mayhew, executive business partner at Google. With over 20 years' experience in the support industry, Natalie and I chat about the evolution of her career, the impact that tech will have on our industry, and how we should embrace the changes it brings, her life as an ambivert, a new word that I have only just recently learnt today, and the social impact she has had on families across London through her not-for-profit initiative, You Have a Choice. Let's talk about the amount of time that you've had in the industry. So 20 years so far. Amazing achievement. 2 decades. So let's take a trip down memory lane and chat through the evolution of your career from the very beginning through to your current position at Google.
So we are going back many, many years. When I looked at my CV, I had to look to see how far back I've been an admin. So I was fresh out of college in 1996. And I went straight into a company called Premium Credit, which was like data entry. And then I fell pregnant in 1998 and I had my son. So I was 20 when I had my son. But that, as a single parent, kick-started me into wanting more out of life. And it makes you reassess, what do I want from life? So I went back to college and done an evening course on business admin. So I got my degree in business admin, and from there, the rest is history. So in 2000, I started working for a friend. Her sister had her own business, very small, Neville Aerial Systems, in their back garden. So I started off just in a small admin role, which was great. When you've come kind of off maternity leave, your confidence is very low. So it was great to work with someone that I knew and in a part-time role. And then from there, everything else just changed. So I then went to Wilson's Automobiles. I went on to Pfizer, CIPD, Unilever, and now the last almost 7 years at Google. So it's just been a really long experience. And from each company, obviously, you learn so many different things. But I think where I've worked in different companies over the years, I definitely suit a larger organisation as opposed to a smaller organisation. It's just where my personality fits, I think.
Yeah, and I think that's the same for a lot of people. You either are good with the boutique-y sized firms or you love being part of the madness of something that's absolutely huge. And I suppose that's exactly what Google is.
Exactly. You can't call that small at all. I think even just in my office just down the road, just one of the office, we have like over 1,000 people. So it's great. But I can see the benefits of both, of medium and, you know, of small and large. They're both very different roles. More family feel, I think, in a smaller organisation. It's wherever your personality fits and where you feel more comfortable. I have friends that only work in small companies because that's what they prefer, and they've tried a large organisation and it just wasn't the right fit. And I think I'm the other way. You put me in a small office and I'm bouncing around the office ready to explode.
Well, why don't we talk a bit more about Google then? Because recently there's been a huge change that the business decided to take on, and a huge change that they recently made. And that was that all the support staff were retitled from the more normal PA titles through to admin business partner, which I think is absolutely amazing. It definitely caused ripples throughout the entire industry. Everybody was talking about it. So as someone who's been part of that transition, what effect have you seen that that's had on the admin business partners? And have you seen any other changes from other people in the organisation towards that group of people too?
Definitely. So I joined Google before we changed names. So I was an assistant. That's what we were. You were either an executive assistant or an assistant. So what happened was we spent around 1 year discussing across the globe. So there was around 68% of the entire population of the admins across the globe that participated in this, into changing the name. So when you come into Google, you're told this is not your average admin job. And if you come in as an assistant, it's like, how do we reflect that in the business name to show that this isn't just your normal, diary travel expenses, it's so much more at Google. And so the new titles kind of reflect what we're actually doing. We are a business partner. And I think that's the same for most assistants. If you look at your role, you're not just doing diary travel expenses, the core role. You're doing so much more. You are a business partner. You are the eyes and the ears to your director. And I think changing the name just gives you that more reflection within the company that reminds people no one is called an assistant anymore in Google. They do say, oh, my business partner can help you with that. My business partner can help you.
That's amazing.
And I think, and also, so you have executive business partners. So the levels are still there for admin and executives. We haven't taken that away. We've just added in business partner. And it's been, like you say, it's been such a ripple in the admin community externally. So many people have reached out to me and said, we really want to change the way, what have been the benefits of this? How did you do it? Why did you do it? So I've spoken to so many people who are now looking to change their name. And that doesn't mean your job is changing. We're not saying we're more than what we think we are. It's just we wanted to reflect what our roles really are.
Yeah.
Times have moved on from the days of the diary travel expenses. I think all assistants in all companies are so much more than that. And I think these jobs titles really reflect what we are. We're business partners.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's such a inspiring change as well. And I'm quite surprised that not more companies have decided to make that change as well, following on from such a big organisation such as Google taking the leap and sort of trailblazing in that area as well.
I think they're slowly starting to change. Definitely a lot of admins are reaching out to me, external admins are reaching out to me to discuss this topic. I spoke on a panel just the other day at Hewlett-Packard, just purely on that topic as well as to why we changed the name. And so there are definitely companies that are looking to explore changes within their company and to change the ways, but some just aren't quite ready yet. Someone has to take the lead.
So you've been part of some incredible businesses throughout your career, which you gave us a really nice insight into at the beginning of our conversation. So what do you see as, when you reflect on the experience that you've had and the companies that you've worked in, looking forward, what do you see as the biggest challenges that our industry and us as individuals are going to start to face?
Yeah, so looking back from way back to now, I don't think my job has really changed in terms of my core role. I feel what has changed is the pace of things, of how they've changed. When I look back to years ago to now and the hours that I now work, and I think that's what is changing. It's not necessarily the jobs. I think it's the pace of how things are changing. So obviously working in a tech company, I get asked all the time, is AI going to take over my job?
The question on everybody's lips.
mind. And we've even had conferences, admin conferences at work about it. And the answer is no. So for example, if you take Google, we're not making software that will take over our jobs. What we're doing is we're making software that will enhance our jobs. So for example, a Google document or Word for people that use Microsoft. In Google Docs, you can simultaneously work on it together. So that's not taking away your job, that's enhancing your job, that both of you at the same time can work on the same document. Or I can just jump in a room, press a button, and I can have a video conference with someone on the other side of the world. So I don't need to fly over there, and everything's at the speed of the button. So it's enhancing my job to be quicker, to be better. And that's why I say you need to embrace technology, because that is the way forward, and it can really enhance how a business forwards in a much quicker way with their clients.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say 90% of my meetings I have are all on Hangout. You could run a project where actually you don't have to run it just from the UK. You could ask other admins across the globe to be part of your project, and they can all just jump on Hangout. So you can have weekly catch-up meetings on how the project's moving forward. So it's a great way of bringing everyone together as well.
Yeah. So people shouldn't be scared is the message, really, isn't it?
You shouldn't be scared. You should embrace it. I was the same. I came from a Microsoft background. Some of the companies I worked for used Microsoft, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to Google. I don't even know how to open Gmail. I don't know how to book a room. I don't know how to type an email. And it was really, not only was I learning Google, I was learning G Suite, and it was a really scary time. But within a week, I was like, oh, wow, this is amazing. And I'm not saying Microsoft is bad. It's just a different way of working. And Microsoft has definitely changed as well with their products. So I definitely think you can't be scared of technology and trying new things. when I started Google, I was definitely not someone that embraced change. And I think it's definitely taught me to embrace change at Google, because things happen at the speed of light. So you have to go with the flow and the changes and learning new products. And we have so many in Google that even I'm still learning every day. There's a new piece of software that's popped up that, that would really help me do expenses better, etc. So
it must be exciting to be part of that as well, and to see it all coming and to know what's coming up and what's going to be the next trend. And
I love it. When I was at Unilever, I was the same. I worked on the Dove Pro Age, and it was amazing. I was there as an admin assistant right at the beginning before it even launched, and I saw it being built and just the design of the packaging being built, and then right through to the launch. So it's amazing as well being in Google and seeing things as a baby and then suddenly fruition into life. And it's just the impact that we have on people's lives is unbelievable. And there's still so many products I still don't know what we're doing. And we have a conference every couple of years called Engage, where lots of people come on stage and they tell us about everything that's happening inside Google. And you're like, wow, this really is...
mind blown.
It is a mind-blowing company.
Well, it sounds amazing. I think everybody's going to be jealous. Let's move on to something a little bit less work-related, because I think you're probably one of the busiest people outside of work, especially obviously as a mum, everything else you do as well, which I'm not sure many people really know about. So in 2006, you launched You Have a Choice, which just sounds so unbelievably inspiring. And you describe it as an anti-gun and knife initiative, which has seen you been able to collaborate with celebrities and the Mayor of London. And it's to... from what I've read, it's to deliver workshops and to help people who are most affected by those issues in the south of London. So where did that inspiration, or where did your inspiration for You Have a Voice come from? And what have been the highs and lows of being a director of your own business?
So it started in 2006, 2007, and I was working with a group of young girls at a secondary school in Wimbledon. And it was part of a scheme where, as an adult who worked in a corporate organisation, I went in to mentor these young students. And one of them had to be HR, one had to be marketing, one had to be sales, and they had to build their own business. And then I had to guide them on... So, for example, they sacked someone because they didn't turn up to one of the meetings. And I said, OK, and you have to let them... Yeah, really brutal. So I had to let them carry on. And I said, OK, that was your decision. In the real world, in a business, this is how this would have played out, give warnings, etc. So it was really great. And then the idea was they wanted to do a project where they had to make money. And I think it was in scheme with Barclays at the time. So I was there mentoring it, and this project became so big. It started off as they wanted to do a small play on stage to raise money, and people would pay to see the play. And I was like, okay, that's a great idea. And I was like, well, what about if we got a celebrity in? I said, we can ask around, get a celebrity, and that would really draw in the crowd. And then the project got so big that the school said, your project's got so big, we're actually going to have to pull away from this project. But I thought, actually, I have so much in place now with these girls. I don't want to let it go, all their hard work. And I completely respected what the school was saying. It had got big. We were even thinking of hiring out Wimbledon Theatre at one stage.
Wow.
So in the end, we were like, okay. And I completely changed it. And because some of these girls, it was a great understanding for me. Because I said, look, we're in Wimbledon. Why do we need to talk about gun and knife crime? And then they explained to me, but they don't live in Wimbledon. They all come from areas where gun and knife crime is on their estates. And it was really, really engaging for me to understand their background and to help them move things forward. So You Have a Choice was formed, and we went over to Arsenal Football Club, who gave us their venue for free. And we worked with so many people on that project. And then the company just formed, and the events just kept going and growing. And we worked with the likes of Eddie Caddy, comedian Eddie Caddy. He was my host at every event, and he was amazing. So he just kept things ticking over while I was stressing in the background that someone hadn't shown up or this wasn't working. And he just kept things going on stage for me, just smoothly carrying away. And what these events done is it brought young people from all different postcodes to the event. So I worked with a lot of youth centres, a lot of schools. I worked with housing associations. It was challenging because this was all on top of my day job, but it was so amazing to see what was progressing. And we held workshops. I think the thing that always broke my heart was when we asked parents who had lost someone to one of their children's a gun and knife crime. And when I always asked someone to come and speak on stage about their experience of what had happened, and you could literally hear a pin drop. So whenever a parent spoke on stage, you could hear a pin drop in the audience. Everyone was just glued to what they were saying, the effect it had had. But it wasn't really to highlight gun and knife crime. It was to show young people there are other ways and to give them all the things they might not actually realise is available to them, because some of them don't realise all the possibilities that are available to them. So I worked with colleges and we had lots of stands where people could then advertise what was available to young people. So it was more about that and building their confidence. And then that spill over into when I used to go to church at Yahweh Christian Fellowship in Tooting, and I worked with people there and we got some budget together and we done some workshops in Wandsworth. And then because I do photography, obviously I have a big background with lots of different celebrities, from music to sport. But because of that, they were also willing to come along. So we had drama workshops with some of the adulthood cast. So obviously to a young person, and adulthood was the film at the time.
Yeah.
So they were just like, oh my God, this is amazing.
And I suppose they could feel as with that particular group of people, they could maybe relate to them quite a lot as well.
Completely. And I think it was really great to see the actors that played the role on an estate, but necessarily themselves didn't come from an estate. So it was great to show young people that actually these are just characters in movies, and to see them in real life and to ask them loads of questions, and then to ask them, how did you get into drama? What skill set do I need to be an actor or actress? So it was great. And then we worked with the likes of Doneo, Chipmunk, and they all helped out with the charity. And then obviously, like everything, funding runs out and it becomes harder and harder to get funding. And again, on top of your day job, I mean, that was a full-time job that people do outside of their day job. And it was an amazing experience. And I've always got my hand in some kind of charity work. But in the end, it just became too hard. And then Choice FM radio station decided they wanted to run their own anti-gun and knife company, and they wanted to call it I Have a Choice. And I was so upset because I was like, I was this small company. I'd worked with Choice FM up until that point as well. And that was why I called it. So it was called You Have a Choice because Choice FM were one of my sponsors at the very first event. And it was all things like that you were fighting against. And I was trying to trademark my name. But as a single person, it was just impossible. And I think I lost the fight and trying to get the money, and I kind of just parked it to the side. But I stayed in contact with so many people, such as these young boys that were working with their own company called Nutmeg, doing very similar things to me. But they were very, very grassroots, had an amazing community relationship with the police and with the young people. So I was always supporting them. So I've met so many amazing people through that project. So I don't regret anything that I've ever done with that project because it helped change people. And like I said, the Mayor of London even came to one of the events and gave out certificates to everyone that finished one of the drama workshops. And he even done like a little rap himself. So it was amazing to have the Mayor of London. He wasn't the Mayor of London at the time, but he was on his way to be. So we'd asked him to come down, and he'd done a little rap down at the church. So that was great. It was great. It was great fun.
It's the impact that you have on them, though. They're going to remember it forever.
Yeah, I hope so. And that's why I'm not the right person to stand up on stage and host these events. But where I feel my skill set is I recognise the area and I know how to pull an event together with the right people on stage and the right audience. I knew who my audience were and I knew the right people to get on stage and to run the workshops and things like that. So I think that's where my skill set is. It's not to be the person on stage. It's to be the person behind knowing who is right to be on stage.
Yeah. And that's a skill in itself, isn't it? To delegate in terms of something, or to delegate when you have such a strong passion, and to give people that responsibility to see your passion through.
It definitely is. And one thing I definitely learned was you can call people up and ask for money over the phone, but when you see someone in person and you are oozing passion for this project, you know, that was what made the difference. Me actually going to people, to the housing associations, going, look, I've got this amazing project. I really want to work with you. And when they can see everything and they can see how passionate you are, people are willing to bend over to help you, you know, with their time as well.
Yeah.
Especially as a charity project, you know, you don't have any money and every single penny counts.
No, exactly. Well, I know that this isn't in our questions.
Okay.
But I feel as though, as we're on the subject of events, we have to talk about the Admin Connect event.
Oh.
We have to, because you're very well known in London for throwing. You look really daunted.
Oh no!
But you are very well known in the London admin circuit for coordinating these amazing events at Google. So very quickly, as we're, having this chat right now, why don't you use this as an opportunity to tell everybody a bit more about that as well?
I work with some admin at Google, and between us, we create these events. I don't do them by myself. So we created these events as a group. And what it is, they're admin events run by admin for admin. And they started out with around 20 of our external clients. They came in and we ran some workshops. And from there, they just flew. They just absolutely flew. And before I knew it, I think I've got over 450 external admins on my database that we invite to each event. And they're all our clients. And basically, it's for anyone in the industry that wants to network with other admins, and they're fantastic. And I know Facebook are doing fantastic events. There are lots of these networking events, such as yourselves, are popping up, and everyone is doing lots of networking events for admins. And I'm really seeing a rise in admin networking events, which is fantastic. And the way we tailor ours, because I find there's a difference in all of them, which is fantastic. You never go to the same networking event. So I feel that everyone has got their own niche on how they do it. And how we do ours, it's always over breakfast normally. So people aren't out the office for too long, because I know trying to get an admin to come to an admin event for an entire day is tough.
It's hard work, yeah. Getting a day out the office is impossible when you do this job.
And it is tough, but I want people to understand that this is for them. When I first started these, some of the feedback I got was, I'll just check my director's free to attend. And I was like, no, this event is for you. It's not for your director. They couldn't believe they were being asked to come to an event. And so what we do is we run workshops tailored just for admins, and it could be on confidence, it could be on well-being, it could be on excelling under pressure, and it's all tailored for admins. And then we have inspirational speakers. So I invited Nelson Mandela's former PA, Zelda Lagrange, and she came to have a fireside chat with me as to what it was like working for Nelson Mandela.
She's fabulous.
She is unbelievable. It's amazing. And her book was such a good read because she's so open. So you could ask her anything. And she was very, very open about her life. And it was just great to speak to an admin that isn't doing a similar admin role to myself. And then we had, obviously, Abby came through as well from Mary Porter's. She was Mary Porter's EA.
Yeah.
And we interviewed her as well. And it was, what skill set do you need to be an admin assistant to a celebrity? And what's the difference between your role and me coming into the office every day? And it's just really interesting to hear from another assistant that's got something a bit different to kind of say. So that's what they are. And when I get the feedback from admin that say, thank you so much for this, we don't have anything like this in our company, or we really want to change the name of our company, or we've got so many ideas on what we want to do now. It's really, really inspiring to see that. And I think the best one for me is one of them wrote back and said, thank you so much for that. I'm now reassessing my life and I'm going to start taking time for myself. I've even signed up to an evening art class.
Wow.
It just is so overwhelming that what I thought was just an admin event has kind of turned into so much more. I'm really passionate about these events just to make them bigger and better at each time.
Yeah.
So we all sit together at Google and just think, right, how can we make the next one better? And what was the feedback we got? What could we work on? And what is it that admins really, really want to get out of these events? So whatever people want, we try and give it to them. We want to help everyone that's in the room, because the room is a mixture of people from introverts to extroverts to ambiverts. Now, an ambivert, I'm going to explain because I've only just learned that word. So an ambivert is someone that can flick between the two. They're an introvert and an extrovert. And I've also learned that there's a difference between an introvert and a shy person. So when we're doing our networking events, we have to be really considerate that actually some people are just shy and they love to come to these events, but they're just really, really shy. So how do you make networking happen throughout your event naturally for them so that it's not overwhelming? And then you've got an introvert that actually even trying to get them to an event is a huge achievement for them, because that's probably one of their worst fears, is to network. I definitely feel I fit between an ambivert, because sometimes I'm so in my comfort zone, and then other times I think, no, I don't want to go to that event because no, that's too scary. And so I think I flick between two of them. But it's great to learn that. And like I say, with these events, we try and cater to everyone that's in the room. It's a networking event, and we really try and ensure that people do network throughout the event as well and get ideas. And there's people in there that are EAs to CEOs and have to sit by themselves all day, and they're like, how can I integrate more into the company? And then you have others that are team assistants, and maybe they're struggling with their own personal performance review, and how can I get the confidence to speak to my boss about my performance review? So these are all the things that we're trying to help people with.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, rapid fire. What's your biggest networking tip?
Oh my goodness. I think be prepared. So if you're going to an event, be prepared. Take business cards and just be prepared. It's your time. At the end of the day, it's your time. So if you're spending your time going to a networking event, make sure you're getting something out of it. I always come away with at least 5 or 6 new ideas. I'm like, oh my God, that person would be amazing at our event. They're experiencing this. So I'm always on the hunt for new things for my event.
I think that's brilliant. Let's talk about the future. So what's next for Natalie Mayhew? Where do you see yourself, in the future, especially because you've just had such a inspirational but busy and crazy few years?
Yeah, I can't see anything changing. I am someone where if I haven't got 1,000 things on the go, I get super restless, whether it's in work or out of work. I've normally got something on the go for both. And I think photography, running the events and everything, I think I'm just always on the lookout for the next project. So I think for me, I don't actually know what holds. I haven't got any plans in place. I find that I'm very off the cuffs sometimes, and just things just fall my way. And I'm like, oh, that's where my life is going this year. And sometimes I just have to sit back and wait and see what's coming up. But I'm always on the lookout for new projects to get involved with.